pjnet.tv. It is 9 p.m. on the east coast of Florida this Monday, the 27th of June, and our bumper is running. We are recording and we are streaming, and we have a returning guest. Haven't seen him in a while, standing by in our green room. So everything looks like it's in place. We will count down to Studio 9 after this countdown. Well, good evening. Welcome. This is pjnet.tv. I'm your host, Coach Prasick. It's 9 o'clock and we're starting a brand new week. And to kick off, it's like Monday Night Football, except that it's not winter. To kick us off tonight, we have a guest that is returning after being in absentia for some while. And I don't want to waste any time, and we will bring Mary A. Felkins onto the screen. I'll put the name up there because if you want to get to her website, you go to maryfelkins.com. I'll put that up there in a moment. But Mary, it's been a while since we've talked, and so much I assume some things are happening based on some of the information you've been feeding me over the days and even weeks leading up to this. Well, no surprise, you're an author, but behind me is not one book, not two books, but three books. And I want to talk about your books, but tell us first, it's been a while since we've gotten together. What's been going on in your life outside of books and more books? Anything?
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking it was March of 2021 when I was on for the first time, and then had thought about returning. Actually, Barbara reached out in anticipation of a book launch that You Are the Reason, back behind you, was initially slated to come out in November. So I was working to get that ready, had a launch team up and ready to go, and it was aborted. It wasn't quite ready. It's with that third one is with Elk Lake Publishing, and Deb Haggerty is a hands-on editor. So when it gets to her, she's like a great parent that wants to make sure the book is something that she wants to read. That it's kind of like, I'm not going to let you go out the door dressed like that kind of thing. So after 4 or 5 rounds of editing with the main editor, we kind of shook hands. Things were fine, but I really appreciate that because learned a lot in the process. So. And then it gave me time to go ahead and polish up the prequel, the one in the middle, This I Promise You, that's associated with the series. So it's kind of a reader magnet, and it's something that's just something to give the readers as we were waiting for this You Are the Reason, which just released on Saturday. So that's cool. So, okay. But so the beauty in that timing was, I felt like the Lord just said, well, you've got this big window of time. So that's what I invested that time doing. Pretty much put a lot of time and energy and had some professional editing and worked on the cover for This I Promise You. So that, and my father passed away on March 17th. And that really, despite that, I was able to, maybe even because of that, I would rephrase that second book, This I Promise You, was really important to me. I had dedicated it to my mom. She passed away 12 years ago, and she had Alzheimer's, and one of the characters in the story has Alzheimer's. But really the whole message of living your faith, that it's not just words, that we have love in action. I thought that is so my dad. I mean, really both my parents, but that my dad did not sit down with us 6 children and go through Bible verses, but we just took notes on his life. So that I added him to the dedication, and him in particular too. So March 17th. So, and even still in a period of grieving, he was 95, but he passed away. He had a fracture in his hip, and so he was bedridden, and I kind of wonder what contributed to that. And then it was a process of, unlike normal families, me and my siblings decided to go through literally over 750 individual items in the house, from the biggest piece of furniture to the smallest little object. Like here, I have this geode, okay?
Hmm.
Everything that they had, we had photographed, cataloged, and we did a round robin, 3 round robins on Zoom, and selected in order what we
Hmm.
wanted. Just try to do it with a lot of prayer. And so that has kind of been my world for the past several months. And then saying goodbye to a childhood home, 54 years. I've shared some of that on social media and thinking, why is that harder for me emotionally than saying goodbye to dad? I think a no-brainer answer is, well, dad's with Jesus. And now just the closure of this has always been dad's house. Anytime we have driven from North Carolina to Houston, it's we'll stay at grandpa's house. And so to think there's none of that. And so that closing is set for the 30th, whatever day that is. Is that Thursday? Yeah. So it's the right decision, but it's a hard one. But then that's fed a lot of emotion. I've been journaling on that and trying to tap into what does that mean and how can I use that in my writing, which I have on my blog post. I have written several posts just inspired by that. So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. Nothing else.
So I've never heard of someone, it may be more common than I realized, but going through all the stuff, making a picture, cataloging all the
Uh,
stuff. I know that in my own case, and I'm an only child,
mm,
but going through all your dad's stuff,
yeah.
it is emotionally a lot of weight to carry. And I don't know, how did you manage that?
We all, I think, distributed our emotions pretty much across the board. You know, my 2 brothers were executors. They're trying, I just think we were in work mode a lot because of the funeral. There were actually 3 services. And, but there were some issues where it was obvious this is something that, say it's Boy Scout related, that doesn't need to be in the round robin. My brothers are going to decide between them who gets what. Then we came to the issue of China
Mm.
and mom's 15-piece place setting and thinking that can't just be one round robin item and then who's going to get the burden or blessing of taking all that. And so
Hmm.
it was a surprise to all 4 of us, the girls, 4 girls, that we would like to have some of mom's china. One
Hmm.
opinion was, you can't break it up. This is hard to find. Well, the truth is we were able to find it online. So that was a little difficult. But yeah, just seeing the pictures, we're trying to do this like you would run a business meeting and it's your turn. Don't take a lot of time. You've already made your selections in advance. We've done our homework. And then when that, amethyst rock comes up and if it's still available, then I pick that, right? So some things were hard to look at just visually to remember, yeah, mom cooked out of that, or she loved colored glass like
Hmm.
crazy.
Mm.
Crazy. So in fact, yeah, she had a hobby where she collected insulators, the glass insulators
I
on
remember.
telephone.
Remember those? I remember them.
Yeah, her name actually is pretty famous in the National Insulator Association. She was president. She had written for their trade magazine. I mean, just amazing. But typically, that's not something that is common in conversation. It was a big deal. So, yeah, what do we do with all of mom's insulators? And so I felt on it. Really, we prayed. We really continue to pray. You're grieving, but you kind of can't because you have to get this done because we have to list the house, which I didn't see that coming.
Hmm.
You know, it's like I live in dreamland. Can we not just? Can one of y'all buy it? I know a couple of my siblings could afford to have it, but it was the right decision to not have that drain the inheritance money to pay to keep it alive and
Right. Right.
Houston Heat, all that. So anyway, yeah,
Any surprises as you went through the stuff?
there are, yeah. Yeah. Well,
That
there's
we
three.
can talk about.
Yeah, no, there's three attics. So my job, all the jobs kind of naturally fell to the strengths of my siblings. So I've got, a CPA lawyer sister and a former CEO at Exxon brother and an electrical engineer. So we all kind of took our interests, and mine fell in the area of letters, correspondence, and photos. I said I'd be happy to divide up 1,000 years worth of all these pictures that were not really well organized, or they were initially. And one of the on the very first day of us being at the house, we started in the garage, and my brother had a box of this really old, dusty, roach-eaten box full of mom and dad's dating correspondence from 1945 to 1949, and he's not very emotional. He wasn't emotionally attached to it. And he kind of did this thing of, well, does anybody want this? Because they had a dumpster on the driveway. We just agreed if it's junk, like a shoestring, throw it away. If it's valuable, we keep it. And I was like, I'm taking those. So I have in my possession, it's just a few of them, many, 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 many of these letters that I'm going through. And the surprises are actually finding a couple photos that are really precious. We know a lot of the common photos and they had them out or they were circulated, but there's a couple that none of us have ever seen. And that is just a real joy. And just to hear their hearts, this is chaste. I called them romance letters or their love letters at first. They kind of technically are, but everything is just as it should be. And
Uh-huh.
the whole waiting till marriage, this foreign concept. So I don't feel like it's emotional to read it because he loved her and she loved him, and stated often, I really feel like this is a love that's going to last forever till the end of time. And then the outcome and you think, boy, they really did stay committed
Hmm.
all those years. So, and are reunited today.
Hmm.
So, it's good.
Well, it's good to have siblings.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It can be.
tough. It's always tough, but I am the only, and when you're the only, it's kind of quiet in that house.
Right. Right.
And
Exactly.
it was very difficult for me, Mary,
Mm-hmm.
because everything you
Interesting.
touch invokes
Yes.
memories, and
Yeah.
it's just real tough.
Memories are very powerful. And I've actually had a lot of house dreams, and I have a sister that I was sharing that with, where I'm back in dad's house and I'm remembering different rooms. And it's deeply implanted because it's 54 years. I was 3 when we moved there.
Hmm.
And I accepted Jesus in that house. And
Hmm.
not everything was rosy, but a good
Yeah,
percentage of it was. And I'm kind of feeling funny about this new family that's interested, and it's just their house of dreams and they
yeah,
love the design. Like, you can't put your dogs in that backyard. That's where my dogs were.
yeah, yeah.
But
Well, we get attached to these things, but over time,
yeah,
though it
good.
heals and it never goes away, but it gets more manageable
It's good to know.
with each passing day and each passing week, and there's not a whole lot you can do to accelerate that.
Right.
You just have to
Right.
take it.
Hmm.
Turning our attention to, unless there's something else in your personal life you want to bring up, it's kind of unusual that we have a guest that we feature 3 books. Normally, I would discourage that kind of thing. When people send me all these book covers, I say, if we can only do one, which one?
Right. Right.
But in your case, there's a story here. The thing that I found interesting, you would assume that my first thought was, oh, this is a 3 book series.
Right.
Well, yes and no.
No.
Kinda.
Right.
It will be
Right.
some.
Right.
The first book was not intended to be first of a series of 3, right?
Correct.
But it is.
Right.
What
It
happened?
it it is a standalone now. And as I say, having done this a little while, started the call to write came in 2012 at the very first conference that I went to. And I got really serious in 2013. And all I had was this one story, and it was this, what do I do with it? And went on this journey and learning about publishing and how to craft a novel. And as characters do, they say, oh, you just think that that's a standalone. I have a story to tell. And so with Call to Love, one of the younger brother of the heroine said, I need you to know that some really hard things have happened since that setting. And he was married in book 1, and book 2 we find out he's not. And I really, this is in the middle of the pandemic, and I was tapping into, okay, Wesley, tell me your story. How do I bust up a marriage? So it's wise if you write a series and you know it's going to be a series and
Mm-hmm.
you put it out and you have a series Bible, but that's not always the way it happens. You can work with it. You just get creative, but it's, you paint yourself into a corner if you can't, if you don't see that coming. So,
Well,
um,
if you didn't set out to do a series, how did it become a series? Was that your initiative, or did Elk Lake Publishing kind of steer you in that direction? How did that happen?
the You Are the Reason book 1, again, I brought this idea with me to Deep Thinkers Retreat and did some brainstorming with, it was a Susie May Warren and Rachel Hauk back when they were holding these 5-day intensive Marine boot camp writing retreats. And you bring your little story idea and it gets crushed because they are wise and published and they know what they're talking about. And same thing where these are two sisters, and Everly is the main character, and her younger sister, Serenity. The only thing I knew at the time was I needed to come up with a sister that was a very distinct contrast. So Everly's very orderly. She's a CPA. She wants no surprises in her world. And Serenity, I said, well, I'll just make her be free spirited.
Mm-hmm.
She'll own a bakery in the French Quarter. And now, book 2, which is called Sweeter with You, that's Serenity's story. So you just kind of have to say, okay, well, Serenity, you know, character's perfect. So what's your backstory? And I don't like 2 books. I like 3. 3 is just a nice round number, right? So the
Actually,
3, well,
it's an odd number,
it,
but anyway.
yeah, it just, I don't know. It's, so there's a half sister that they didn't know about. So that's book 3. And that'll be called When You Smile for Me. So she's a model and he's a Marine that's decommissioned and trying to find a cause to fight for. So that I really, and that has a little hint of mystery in it, and it kind of wraps up everything. So everybody's happy in the end of that. So that this, I promise you, is just again a more lighthearted story. That there's a restaurant that I made up, and you are the reason. And so the prequel introduces that character, the chef. He's got a cooking show and he's got a cooking school, and it's kind of got these, he's from California, and he's got it's a modern day twist on the Joseph, son of the favored son of Jacob, and she's a jilted bride. So this is 6 months after. So that's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you are the now the two, the second and third book, at the moment you publish those yourself as a prequel.
The one in the middle, this I promise you.
Well, we lost Mary somewhere along the way, but maybe she'll be back. We'll find out. I'll tell you what, I'll put this up here. While we're kind of hanging out to see if Mary makes it back, I received an email today that floored me. I was having a conversation. Oh, she's back. Well, I was teasing them about something. Okay, well, we have 1 minute,
We
Mary. So,
do.
what can we offer you to wrap it up? What's next?
Well, just continuing to, I actually was just emailing the editor for book 2, which is called Sweeter with You, Serenity Story, and he was wisely asking questions as he goes along. But um, if we have just 1 minute, I wanted to share that I had that book signing conundrum back last year that was very humbling. It was a copy of You Are the Call to Love. And the inside of it actually says something completely different. The Leaf Key by Susan Mills. And I'm sure she's a lovely author. It's a great story, but that's not my book. And just how easy it is to, as we do with people, we make decisions on what they're like, and you just have to be really careful with that. It was very, everything turned out fine. That was the only copy like that. But I thought, if I have a whole box full of this, I'm in trouble.
Oh my.
So it's taught me to be really, really careful to give. Just we're all carrying stories. We don't know that somebody's father just passed away, or
Right.
just to be sensitive to that.
Yeah. Well, Mary, when we have something to look forward to, when book number 2 and book number 3 comes out, we hope you'll come back and share with us. When do you expect that to happen?
It's targeted for possibly December, and then there's again, it all depends. I hold that seriously. It's a little bit like your due date. I'll just say, well, sometime this month. So that's what's it's slated for December. So we'll see.
Oops, I erased you. You're still there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wanted to put your website up there, maryfelkins.com. We are out of time, but if you want to know more, go right there, maryfelkins.com. Mary, thanks for showing up and sharing with us, and may God's blessing be upon you and your siblings as you work through the process. And I know that God will give you strength, and we'll keep the light on for you, and we hope to see you again.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Great to have Mary Felkins join us on pjnet.tv. And folks, in just a few minutes, we will continue. Casper Stockham, well, he's in trouble again, and we'll find out why. And I'm sure he'll have plenty to share about that. As we get ready for that, wondered if you would take a challenge by asking yourself two, well, simple but yet profound questions. Here's the first one. What is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And the second, when was that? The challenge is to never be satisfied with either answer.